If you drive deep into Colorado's San Isabel National Forest, winding up Highway 165 to an elevation of 9,000 feet, you'll find a landscape defined by towering pines and rugged peaks. You expect to find untouched wilderness here. You don't expect to look through the trees and see a sprawling 160-foot-tall medieval castle rising out of the mountain. Building a structure of this magnitude traditionally requires a massive infrastructure. You need architectural firms drafting blueprints, fleets of heavy machinery moving earth, and a paper trail of zoning permits and safety inspections. Jim Bishop built this without any of those resources. He used no architectural firm, no heavy machinery, and no government permits. For decades, he worked entirely alone, physically lifting every heavy stone and welding every single iron arch by hand. Bypassing every standard of modern construction, the castle stands as more than just a house. It is the physical manifestation of 50 years of unregulated human defiance. The project began in 1959. A 15-year-old Jim Bishop took $450 he'd saved from mowing lawns and delivering newspapers and bought a 2.5-acre parcel of land. For the first 10 years, the work was modest. Jim and his father spent their summers gathering rocks to build a simple cottage where the family could escape the heat of the city. The shift occurred in the early 70s. A passing couple mistook the cottage's arched windows for a castle, and when they asked for directions to it, the idea took hold. Jim decided to stop building a home and start building a monument. His father immediately abandoned the project, declaring the workload was too much for any one person. Jim was left alone on the mountain with a shovel and a bucket of mortar. The drive to continue came from a specific memory. In high school, a teacher had looked at Jim and told him he would never amount to anything. For the next 5 decades, Jim responded to that insult with physical labor. Every stone he hauled to the top of a tower was another piece of evidence that his teacher was wrong. He lifted every log and set every stone entirely without the help of a crane or a crew. He mixed his own concrete in buckets and hauled them up narrow, hand-welded iron stairs. When visitors told him he'd never pull it off, his resolve tightened. He took a perverse pride in their skepticism, famously telling critics, "You say I can't do this? Well, watch me." He extended that same stubbornness to the property's rules. Entry was free to everyone, but there were no handrails, no safety nets, and no government oversight. Visitors entered entirely at their own risk. He financed the build through his personal savings until the castle became a landmark. From that point on, he relied purely on a donation box, building only as much as the visitors' contributions would allow. To Jim, the absence of permits and fees was the structural core of the castle. It wasn't just a building, it was his definition of true American freedom, a place existing entirely outside the reach of authority. By 2019, the toll of 50 years of manual labor finally became visible. Parkinson's disease began to rob Jim of the strength he needed to mix concrete or climb the higher towers. In his final days of construction, he worked on the Great Wall by simply setting stones into place without mortar. He was no longer physically capable of hauling the heavy buckets, but he refused to stop building. Jim Bishop passed away in November 2024. Responsibility for the site has now passed to his son, Daniel, who intends to preserve the castle exactly as his father left it. The core philosophy of the property remains unchanged. The dates are open to the public for free, and you are still invited to climb the iron stairs at your own peril. Today, Bishop Castle stands 160 feet high in the wet mountains. It is a 9,000-foot-high response to a high school teacher's insult, a massive stone and iron proof of exactly what a single human life can amount to.